Hi, I'm Nathan, and I'm doing my presentation on cloud computing, risk, and insiders. So the reason I chose this topic is because cloud computing has been on my mind recently, because computers have been like ever-changing and like evolving and stuff like that. So and then I always wanted to do more research on on cloud. So then I decided to do this presentation on it. So people are trying to find a way to increase computing power as computers keep growing. And so just recently, a way of increasing computing power has came about, and it's called cloud computing. So what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is a use of a virtual machine to execute processes that require a lot of data usage. And I'll tell you a bit about the business side of cloud, like before cloud, how businesses were, and after cloud. So before the use of cloud, businesses and companies had to buy new hardware and software for their employees every time they hire new employees. So more computers had to be bought, so more money had to be spent. This practice has cost companies a lot of money, and aside from the money spent, the company had to hire a whole team of people to like install, configure, test, run, secure, and update the apps that the workers will need to use. So it was a really daunting process that cost a lot of money just for the company to make money itself. But after cloud computing came about, companies were relieved of some of their stress, because through cloud computing, companies do not have to spend so much money to buy hardware and software, because cloud computing is like a shared infrastructure that works like a utility. A company will only pay for what it needs, while the upgrades are like automatic, and then the scaling up and down is also pretty easy. There's also no need for a company to wait for professionals to set up the applications, because through the cloud, the apps can be used in a matter of days. Like the only thing that a person needs to do is to open a browser, log in, and then you can start using the app. So the way that cloud computing works is that it does not require a company to manage the hardware and software. That's the responsibility of the vendors. So cloud computing might seem like a really good innovation, but there's also some risks of it, and then like everything else, it fails sometimes. So recently, companies have decided to change to cloud computing, and cloud computing can be sorted into 3 categories, which I'll explain. One is SaaS, which stands for Software as a Service, PaaS, which stands for Platform as a Service, and IaaS, which stands for Infrastructure as a Service. So each of these categories have a different use. And then, so Software as a Service is a software that is provided by a third party. And then it is available on demand via the internet. And then examples of that include online word processing and spreadsheet tools. So PaaS allows customers to develop new applications using APIs that are deployed and configured. So examples of this are applications such as Microsoft Azure and the Google App Engine. And last, Infrastructure as a Service provides virtual machines which can be controlled using APIs. So examples of this includes Amazon EC2 and Windows Live SkyDrive. So just through these 3 categories of cloud, it changed a lot of lives like drastically, because it made a lot of stuff easier. So personally, I remember like when I was a kid or when I was growing up, I used to ask my friends to burn discs or burn songs on a disc. So they have to carry around a disc, put it in the computer, like burn the disc and then give it to me. And also at the, well, people still do, but people carry around USB sticks, and then they can store files on the USB sticks. But now it's really easy to just upload the data into the cloud, where if you give someone access to it, they can access it on any computer. So after seeing the successfulness of the cloud, like many providers offered more functions of the cloud. Like there is a public cloud, which is open to the general public as a service. And it is also a free service that allows storing files or sharing media. But there's also a private cloud, which is used by a single organization and is either managed internally or by a third party hosting it. So I'm going to start talking about the risks of cloud. Some of the top risks contain weak security systems, third-party control, account lockout, and malicious insiders. So weak security systems online, it's where someone's personal files can be hacked by an outsider or an insider and let loose. And examples of this was when there was 100 of company documents from Twitter were released online to everyone because a hacker got into the system and released all the files. And this incident was caused by the hacker. He used a Gmail password recovery to hack into the cloud because it wasn't really secure enough. And when a person or an insider is in the cloud, they're under the control. They have information. They have everything. They have access to everyone's information and all the credit card info or the data that's stored in the cloud. When a person uses cloud as a service, they are under the control of a third party. And then the third party can make decisions about someone's data and usage. Example of this was when Amazon, at some point Amazon reached into their customers' Kindle and deleted personal books, or like Facebook giving away what a person does on external websites. Also, another well-known risk is server failure, which happens a lot. And then just recently, on July 2nd of this year, there was a electrical storm that swept across the East Coast, and then it wiped out the power of the Amazon Web Service. And through that, the cloud went down, and a lot of people complained to Amazon, and then they had a lot of stuff to do on it. Yeah. So the most well-known risk is malicious insiders. A malicious insider is a hacker that is part of a business or a company. He can also be an outside or a third-party source that have access to the company's site. The main goal of the insider is to bring the company to the ground. The insider either still works with the company or has data or has information and can still access the company's data. And the reason that the insider wants to hack into the cloud and take the data is because they felt that the company dealt them wrong, and then they do this act as an act of revenge against the company. And a way that the outside source could get into the company data is through failure to update the data. So when an employee is fired or resigned, he is maybe some person inside the company forgot to update the data. Like he's still on the roster and he still has his previous accesses into the services. So through this, at home or in his different job, he can still access the cloud since the people forgot to update it. And I'll tell you about some damages that the insiders can cause. The main damages are introducing viruses, worms, and Trojan horses. They can also hack into the main network of the computer of the company and then download the viruses onto the cloud. So therefore, it affects everyone that uses it. And so with an insider, like I said before, they can easily access and steal all the password and credit card information and identities. So there are ways to protect against it. And then the best way of protection against this is to have companies be more secure about who they hire, because study shows that most of the companies don't really have hiring standards for cloud employees. So they would mostly hire anyone that has some knowledge of it, but they don't really test it out. So a way that companies can deal with this and hackers is by training their employees more, or setting their hiring standards higher. And another great protection is fully homomorphic encryption. And then fully homomorphic encryption is a crypto system which supports both addition and multiplication. And then it is, to put it in easier words, it's basically an encryption that further complicates things. So it makes things not so easily to be broken into. It is first invented by Craig Gentry, and then people are starting to use FHE as for short. They're trying to implement it, and then I believe that it would be a great addition to the cloud. So my final thoughts are that Cloud, it did change my life. It changed a lot of people's life. It made things a lot easier, ease of access. But there are also risks like insiders, server failures, data loss. So we have to be careful if we want to use these cloud services, because as systems keep growing, like hackers and people get smarter, they can still hack into stuff. So we must be careful about what we choose and like how we do things. Thank you.
Hi, Nathan. So I'm glad you mentioned fully homomorphic encryption. Is it
You're out of camera range.
do you think it's currently practical yet, or what do you think?
I believe it's still getting worked on.
Okay.
Because I did do some research that people is already using it, like for health companies, like how they if the doctors want to use some of their if they want to keep their patients' information private,
Right.
they can have a encryption system that only allows them to see it and the patient's family to see it, and nobody else can access it.
Right.
And yeah, it's still getting worked on, but I believe that it will become a great addition.
Very
to
good. So the owners of the cloud can't see it. It's encrypted.
Yeah.
It's hidden from them. Very good.